Hello and welcome to Were You Not Entertained? I'm Daniel,
I'm Rachel.
And I'm James.
and we're going to be covering Guns Akimbo today, or tonight,
Yeah.
or whatever time of day it is.
Man, wow. I did not know what I was getting myself into. I neglected to watch the trailer.
Okay.
And when it was recommended, I was like, oh, okay. Daniel Radcliffe and some sort of action thing. Cool. And that's about as far as I knew. And as soon as there was that like nihilistic Max Headroom or whatever the hell that was in the beginning,
Yeah.
that doesn't show up any other time. It's not even like on a screensaver or anything that I saw in the background of like the computer screens for the bad guys or something. It's just there.
Mhm.
I was like, all right, so this is what we're getting into. And yeah, it was a wild ride.
Yeah, it definitely was a wild ride.
Yeah. No, it was intense, but it was fun. At least I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
It was all over the place. And certainly
very
not
much.
a movie of substance necessarily, but just some
No, maybe
good
not.
old-fashioned murder.
And lots of it.
Lots of it. And creative as well.
Yeah. It was done in a very stylized fashion. It reminded me of like a few other movies like Scott Pilgrim versus the World or
Yeah.
almost Suicide Squad or
Except less
Wanted.
boring.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scott Pilgrim fans.
I love Scott Pilgrim. Shut your mouth.
No, I didn't dislike Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
But yeah, this did have a similar. So it totally captures in my mind anyway. So we have the comic book age is a thing now with all of the Marvel movies and the DC movies and the things like that, and they're heroes in those, but it doesn't feel comic bookish. Like they're big budget movies, right? That have the heroes from the comic books, and they follow some of the same storylines and things like that. But when I look at a movie and I think, what would it be like as a movie that's comic book stylized? I think of like this, or even Sin City, which is graphic novel, not necessarily comic book. But these are the kinds of things that, granted, you can't have all movies that are based on comic books be like this, or graphic novels be like this is, because it'll lose its novelty.
Right.
But I do enjoy seeing movies that are filmed this way and have that definite artistic overlay to more than just what's being filmed in a scene.
Yeah, and definitely in that vein of like offbeat, interesting roles for Daniel Radcliffe. I liked this just like I liked Horns, which I know a lot of people hated that movie. But I thought it was good. It was a unique perspective, and this as well. Daniel Radcliffe was really interesting in this, and I really like Nyx. I thought she was a very interesting character.
Yeah, she was kind of hard to, I guess, put a finger on at the very beginning. Like, obviously, at the very first thing that you see is she is battling the guys that are following her in the truck and annihilates them. Pulls the smooth move.
Absolutely. That was a really cool move.
Pulling the e-brake around them, but I didn't really understand what her motivation was at first until you get a little further into it, and then of course it all makes sense. But until that point, you just think she's just like some crazy lady that's going out and playing this essentially a game, and dominating at it. The murder game. She's dominating the murder game.
Well, she is. She's unhinged. And as far as, women in these kinds of movies, typically, I really appreciated the way she was dressed and the way that she talked and handled herself, and she knew the shit out of her weapons. And
Yeah, she knew a lot about guns, which is awesome.
she was awesome. She was really kicking butt, and I like that she was so in charge and she wasn't ever dainty or outfought necessarily by anybody.
She certainly wasn't dainty.
No. She was awesome. She had a filthy trucker mouth and those really cool fangs, but
Yeah.
it was a unique perspective. You don't normally get to see women in films like that.
Right.
So, as a girl who is also not dainty, it was nice. It was refreshing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I thought Samara Weaving did a great job as Nyx. She was absolutely hilarious. I ended up laughing at her punchlines almost as many almost as much as the time as Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
They were both great, and I think that I would not have enjoyed this movie if it didn't have some of the humorous moments put into it, and the way that they pulled those off.
Yeah, it definitely had to have the witty banter and the I guess you could call it the trope of having his hands nailed to guns and how to function with that.
That was great.
This movie does not take itself seriously. And if you try to take it seriously, you are watching the wrong film.
Yeah.
And when that's the case, I appreciate it when they know what they're making.
Yeah, they definitely had fun with it. And I think, especially with Daniel Radcliffe and Samara Weaving, they had really great chemistry. They played off of each other so well.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciated that whole thing. And he always does such a good job at being like completely overwhelmed by his situation.
Yeah.
But in this very funny kind of, not necessarily relatable, because I highly doubt anyone would end up in this situation, but you kind of understand that shock.
Yeah.
And watching him try to pee with guns strapped to his hands was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Or eat, or put
just
on
don't shoot it
pants, or exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of putting on pants, Rhys Darby's edition was apparently his name was Glingerman.
Glingerman?
Yeah, like Benjamin with a Glenn instead of Ben.
Yeah.
Interesting there. But no, Rhys Darby is hilarious in everything he's ever done. I think it was a very small part, but it was perfect.
Yes, it was. It was. It was pretty short. Like he had a few moments, and then those moments were gone.
Yeah. He had kind of the sage character.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of shocked into what the movie was pretty early on, and I think that was a good thing, because if I had tried to expect too much from this, I could have easily been let down. But I did have that feeling of surprise so heavily in the beginning that I was kind of trying to figure out what the movie was the first half, the same way that Miles was trying to figure out what was going on.
Right.
And by the second half, I was like, all right, I got my head around this. And so did he. And that's when he started going to town.
Yeah, exactly. Once he finally killed that guy in the junkyard.
Yeah.
I think he finally had the realization that it's serious and he's got to do something to get out of this.
Yeah. Now that's it doesn't exactly promote great messages. So I would say that this may not be a
you saying it's not a child-friendly movie?
It is not a child-friendly movie by any form or fashion.
This isn't based on Aesop's fables?
No, and it's not based off of anything from what I understand. It was actually written and directed by Jason Howden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did Deathgasm was the most recent thing he did.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I had to go digging for it too because I wanted, well, I mean, not like it was hard to find, but I wanted to make sure that this wasn't based off of some sort of previous work because it seemed like it had that, like you were talking about the overlay, the the graphics on it.
Right.
And so I just wanted to validate, but nope, this is an entirely new property and potentially a series. I mean, they set it up for a pretty interesting second one if they ever decide to do it.
Yeah, they did. Which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure how it was going to end. Um, how they were going to take it. Obviously, it could all end in tears.
Yeah.
But no. Then how do you carry on? How do you carry on the comic book aspect of the whole thing? Right.
Yeah.
You can't have your main guy just die. What is that?
Then he's not the hero. Well, I guess he would be the tragic hero, but
Yeah, he is. He's a tragic hero. He's kind of an anti-hero at the end.
yeah.
Well, yeah. And much more, I hesitate to say realistic, because again, look at this film, but
Yeah.
more realistic that he doesn't get the girl.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think
I
it
thought
would have
that was-
felt cheesy and disingenuous if he did.
Yeah, I thought it was very funny. Then he was just like, no, that doesn't actually happen. It gives them PTSD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In real life, which is true. That would be quite a dramatic situation.
Yeah, that's not usually the moment for, a deep embrace and a kiss.
No love connection going on right there.
Right.
I just checked a dude over the side of of a building.
You
After
may have been a bad guy, but you did just murder someone.
Right. Yeah.
fair enough,
Exactly.
fair enough.
The guy you killed, horrible guy. But you don't look much better right now.
Yeah. But all of the kind of messaging stuff aside, I still had just a really fun time with this. And the soundtrack in it was incredible. They got some good music for it. And I think that they queued it up perfectly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
thought
did.
that too.
Yeah, they did. Okay, sorry. She's about to sneeze.
No, you're fine. 6.
Did you? Okay, cool.
45.
Just let me know when you're ready to go again.
We were at 5:46 minutes before, and we're at 6 minutes here. That's about 12 minutes. And what did you guys want to go to next?
Not a lot of meat in this movie to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, not without really going through the movie. We
Yeah.
can kind of talk about Schism just a little bit.
Okay.
And kind of because that's kind of the message of the whole movie, right? Is the depravity of the internet.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to kind of talk about that, and I can come in because I wanted to agree with you on the music.
Okay. Then
Rachel was about to sneeze, and so I thought it was gonna.
No
I
problem.
did sneeze.
Yeah, she did.
All right, then let's do it at 8:15.
Okay, cool. I've been having problems.
All yours problems.
Yeah. The music was really great with this. Oh, I totally agree with that. It had a great tempo. Like everything was really upbeat, which fit everything that was going on. I mean, it's a super action packed movie. Sometimes you see action movies and they throw in like these slow jams or whatever.
Yeah.
I can use Deadpool as an example. It's fitting in Deadpool, but
Mhm.
it's the same thing where it's like they kind of break some of the fast paced action with these slow melodic melodies, and this did not do that. It was every song that they played.
Yeah, the music they used to take a lot of the seriousness away, because it is very graphic when it comes to the heads being shot left and right, and
Yes.
and crotches as well.
Right.
But at the same time, that could get very tense and kind of John Wickish, which is cool, and love a good action flick like that. But the music, the choices that they made, and the way they rolled it in, like was it MC Hammer that they put in there?
Yeah.
It
I
just
think it might have
for
been.
the guy who used the hammer. Yeah, it was appropriate, and it took a lot of the air off of it, and it didn't quite seem as it made it fun, which is
Right.
exactly what I think they're going for every moment of this movie.
Yeah, and I also think one of the differences maybe in this than some action films is they didn't really ever pause. There was never that take a breath moment, really. It just went pretty much the whole time. There was a couple of maybe a little bit slower parts, like when he meets the homeless guy who's dressing him, or
The trash
when he
can, yeah.
gets in his girlfriend's car. But those are already punctuated with this really good, sharp dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't have been an appropriate moment for slower music. And I think definitely the more lighthearted soundtrack with these really witty quips.
Yeah.
Super good dialogue.
The dialogue was great.
It kept it fun. And yes, there's a ton of gore and it is graphic. But, oh man, it was kind of just a fun romp through, an apocalyptic society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, though, too. It wasn't necessarily an apocalyptic society, but it made it feel that way with the depravity that was displayed in it by your everyday person in the movie.
Yeah, and you had talked about, the message of the movie earlier, and that there wasn't really much of one. And I don't disagree with that, but I think that the one message that is in there is that the internet is the place where people can hide behind their screens and kind of show their true colors, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the people that you would think would be normal are the ones that are watching these murder games going on.
Right.
Like the random business guy, or the chick working at the computer place, or all these people that you would see in normal everyday life, and they're like, and the whole thing that started it is him being a keyboard warrior, being a troll, trying to troll these people.
A troll hunter, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
So I think that there's a message there. I think it should be. I think there's a warning there as well that should maybe be heeded by your average person that likes to get online and just type the horrible things that they think because they feel they can get away with it. Sometimes it'll bite you in the butt.
Or on a larger scale, that while you may enjoy the voyeurism that the internet allows, it has much deeper consequences.
Right. Indeed.
Yeah. And he did have to kind of confront that whole thing because his stance was very anti these murder games. And it's like, but if you're against them, why are you watching them? Why are you giving them viewership and attention? And I think he then had to sort of, darn, now, I guess I am seen.
I'm curious, how was that monetized? There weren't ads. Was it a subscription or something?
Maybe it was betting.
I don't really know. They didn't really go into that aspect of it.
Yeah. I guess it's unimportant.
Yeah. I mean, the guy had a warehouse, but it's not like he was rolling around in Bentleys and living in a mansion. They didn't show him living the high life. He was a scumbag doing scumbag things.
He was spending money on tattoos.
Very little money.
Plenty on computer equipment and drones.
Yes, that he was doing.
Absolutely.
That is true.
And lots of guns.
Lots of guns. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how he monetized it. It's a curious question.
Maybe we'll find out in the second one.
Yeah, maybe.
If there is one. Yeah.
I would like to see one. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
I had a
I'm
good
good
time.
with just the one.
Yeah.
Well, this was really, really good. And typically when they try to do a sequel, either they try to stick with the same premise, but it's not as good because it's not the first time they've done it, or they try to do some continuation and they wind up either trying to moralize it or give it a different tone to make it interesting. And I think this was good as a one-off.
Yeah, and if I hope that if they do want it, that it's inspired, that it's not just to do a sequel or just to turn this into a property instead of a single movie,
Right.
and that if they have a good idea for where to take the character next, that would still be interesting, then awesome.
I hope it's written already.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's not, in my opinion, you don't make great movies by going in and writing one, and then when it's a hit, go, "Ooh, I should do another one." That's an afterthought.
yeah,
I think that if you have movies written already, I mean, I think I think you know, is not quite the same thing, but like Lord of the Rings, I mean, it is a series already. I understand they're not the same thing, but it's something that's already built.
right.
So the thought was originally based on the story, not based on making this a movie and making money from it, which is
Fair
where I
enough.
think a lot of movies kind of fall down in their sequels.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the time they're just pumping them out to make another one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see what you're saying. If he would have stuck with the current world building he's been doing, because who knows, maybe he's written 5 of them.
Right.
And the first one was the only one to catch traction yet. And yeah, that would be much more preferable over them being like, we got to come up with something new now.
Yeah. I would prefer not that because I did enjoy this.
Yeah, it was a good time. Speaking of,
Speaking
let's
of
go
good
ahead
times.
yeah, what was your favorite time? What was your favorite scene, Daniel?
So mine's going to be super basic, but I found it very hilarious. And it's when they're in when they've actually gone to the warehouse or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to bust down Schism, and Nyx has already gotten her fingers chopped off with her throwing knife,
Yeah.
and she tries to give Miles the bird,
Yeah, well, that was a good one.
and she holds up her hand, and he was like, "What is that?" And she's like, wait," and finds her finger, picks her finger up off the ground, and then holds it up. And he's like, okay.
But he's like, wait, we got to put that
gotta
on
put
ice.
that-
He's
yeah.
trying to put it in
Yeah.
his
Picks it up
pocket.
with his gun, puts it in his pocket. Yeah. I really enjoyed that.
That was a funny spot.
There's not a lot of poignant scenes in in this movie, but that I really enjoyed. So, what about you, Rachel?
Mine would have to be a little earlier in the exact same scene when she's kind of losing the fight to the big man with the hammers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then she does drugs and just absolutely kills him with that hammer.
Yeah.
Like I said, bad messaging.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Totally bad messaging. But just like the styling of that, watching her like crawl across on the ground. And then, yeah, she comes back to life, and she had some really great useless lines about it. And she just pummels his skull in with that hammer. I very much enjoyed that.
Very much a woman power, more of a drug power thing.
More of a drug power thing. Yeah, she really bested him with those.
Were you not
hammers.
entertained does not condone the use of drugs.
No, we do not.
Yeah. Well,
But
or
it
the
works
use
in the
of
movies, apparently.
hammers to murder people.
Yeah, we don't condone anything in this movie. I think I'll say that as a blanket statement.
Agreed.
So, what about you, James?
For me, it was the junkyard.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever he gets there to try to lure Nyx there.
Yeah, set the trap.
Yeah, and he stumbles upon some sort of gun or drug deal or something like that between two rival gangs. or Cruz.
Yeah, which is just like,
And when she shows up with a pair of heart pink sunglasses and a chain gun,
yeah,
it's just so funny, man. I love that that's kind of how I view the entire movie. It's Miles being completely out of his element and over his head. A bunch of criminal organization people pointing guns at him, and then Nick's basically being like, nobody's allowed to kill him except for me.
yeah, exactly.
And lots of death.
Yes, and lots of death.
Indiscriminate death.
No.
Lots
Plus,
of
it had my
indiscriminate
favorite-
shooting, whether it resulted in death or not. There were bullets flying everywhere.
Yeah, she was just having a good time.
I'm
It
just
also
talking
had
about
my
the
favorite
whole
line
thing.
in the movie.
Which one is that?
Why do people keep effing dying on me? And he means it literally, not like literally dying and blood and parts splattering on him.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good choice.
Thank you.
It was the scene where he made his first smart decision of the entire thing, and it still blew up in his face.
Yeah. Kind of literally.
Yeah.
There were a lot of really just fun scenes in this.
Yeah, if you can't handle gore or senseless violence, that's pretty much all this is.
Mm-hmm.
And don't watch it.
Yeah.
It's funny.
But if you can deal with that, like we can apparently, then give it a shot, because like I said, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a fun romp.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be winning any Academy Awards, but I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, it was good. It was more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Agreed. All right, well then I think that wraps it up for Guns Akimbo. If you liked our coverage, please go on, like, and subscribe, and join us next time on Were You Not Entertained?